He extended his jacket to a trembling woman at the bus stop, unaware that she was a CEO destined to transform his life in ways he could never imagine. The wind sliced through New York with a sharpness that was almost palpable, as snow descended steadily from the overcast heavens, enveloping the sidewalks and muffling the city's typical clamor. At a nearly deserted bus stop, illuminated only by the flickering glow of a street lamp, Henry stood hunched in a fraying olive jacket, gripping a worn manila folder tightly against his chest. Within lay 5 resumes, each a testament to silent rejection. He released a slow breath, observing the way it clouded in the frigid night air. At the age of 46, a once prominent construction engineer, now a widower and father, finds himself navigating the harsh reality of homelessness. The thought settled upon him with a weight akin to the snow accumulating at his feet. The crimson illumination of a nearby pharmacy sign flickered, marking the hour at 8:41 p.m. The bus had yet to arrive. The chill had seeped into his tattered boots. Suddenly, amidst the swirling snow, a woman emerged. She appeared to be in her 30s, dressed in a business skirt and blouse, without a coat, her heels echoing against the pavement. Her damp hair clung to her face, her arms wrapped securely around herself. She paused beneath the familiar awning, her breath coming in short gasps, her hands trembling. Henry made an effort to avert his gaze, yet her presence was undeniably captivating, refined and immaculate, yet unmistakably burdened by the chill in the air. She rubbed her bare hands together, but the chill remained, refusing to yield to her efforts. He averted his gaze. Another night unfolds, a mere bus ride leading to the void. Yet, in that moment, the wind unleashed its mournful howl. She recoiled, drawing herself into a tight ball, and Henry cast another look her way. Though his jacket was far from impressive, it still held a certain value. He could hold on to it, remain quiet, blend in with the crowd. Yet he did not. Silently, he cast aside the coat, feeling the sharp sting of the cold. He advanced toward her, extending his hand with purpose. Startled, she exclaimed, "You don't need to do that." Henry offered her a weary smile. "Today has already taken its toll on me. This coat. It is the sole offering I possess to share." She paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. "Yet, it seems you have a greater need for it than I ever could." He tenderly placed it over her shoulders. "Tonight is not the night." She was taken aback by the warmth. The air was infused with the scent of soap, perhaps mingled with the rich aroma of coffee. Solace. Unintentionally, she tightened her grip. "Thank you," she whispered softly. He nodded, his arms crossed tightly against the chill that enveloped him. In a hushed stillness, they remained, enveloped by the gentle descent of snowflakes swirling around them. After a brief pause, she shifted her gaze toward him. "What do you go by?" "Henry. My name is Claire. It's a pleasure to meet you, Claire." She cast a fleeting look in his direction. "Your jacket was never meant for me to wear." A faint smile graced his lips. "It seems unlikely, yet I couldn't allow you to succumb to the cold." A low rumble echoed through the stillness as a bus approached. Headlights cut through the swirling snow as the vehicle approached. Claire approached it, only to pivot and glance back. "Is there a destination you have in mind?" Henry offered a nonchalant shrug. He mentioned it was somewhere, though he left out the detail that it was the backseat of a rusted truck tucked away behind a warehouse. "Should you ever find yourself in need of anything?" He accepted it, tucking it into his folder with a casual glance away. He had never anticipated that he would find himself in a position to employ it. Such remarks were a common occurrence among the people. Many did not truly intend it. Claire boarded the bus, casting one last look behind her, the coat enveloping her as if it were a protective shield. Henry stood there, his gaze fixed on the bus as it vanished into the swirling snow, leaving only a whisper of its presence behind. Once more, he found himself standing alone, trembling, not from the chill in the air, but from an entirely different sensation. A subtle force, unassuming yet formidable. He gazed upward at the vast expanse of the sky, before shifting his attention to the desolate street below. "Perhaps tomorrow," he murmured, before turning and disappearing into the dark. Henry meandered through the hushed back streets, the snow crunching beneath his battered shoes. There was no urgency to rush. There was no one in sight, no one to await. Darkness enveloped the window, with no lights illuminating the space within. The chill of his truck enveloped him, a stark reminder of its presence, stationed behind a weathered warehouse at the city's fringe. He arrived just after 9. The aged 98 Chevy bore the scars of time, its body marred by rust, and the heater lay silent, a relic of its former warmth. In the front seat lay a cozy nest of blankets, a pillow nestled in the corner, and a lunchbox discreetly tucked beneath the dashboard. He entered, closed the door behind him, and settled into silence. He retrieved a small tin box from the glove compartment and carefully opened it. Within lay a weathered photograph. His wife, Lily, beamed with a radiant smile, while their son, Ethan, about 7 years old, sported a charmingly crooked grin. "Good night, Lily," Henry whispered softly. "Sleep well, Ethan." He reclined, gaze fixed on the ceiling, allowing memories to cascade through his mind. Once he had served as the structural engineer for Jack Miller. He constructed edifices, schools, residences, medical facilities. He was married to a woman who taught kindergarten, her laughter ringing out frequently, even in the face of life's challenges. Their son possessed her laughter, pure and unrestrained, echoing with joy. Though wealth eluded them, they found solace in their contentment. Then the cancer arrived. When they finally discovered it, it had already progressed to stage 4. Lily vanished within the span of 9 months. Henry resigned from his position to tend to her needs. In the aftermath, all began to fall apart. Mountains of bills loomed, savings evaporated. He sold the house and gradually moved with Ethan into increasingly smaller spaces, until all that remained was the truck. Yet he endeavored to protect his son. He transformed the back seat into a spaceship, turned canned soup into thrilling adventures, and reimagined a parking lot as their very own backyard. Each morning, he accompanied Ethan to school, impeccably groomed and with his shirt neatly tucked in. "What compels you to continue cutting your hair?" a question once posed by a shelter worker. Henry wore a smile. "My son must hold on to the hope that things can improve, and I must project that same belief." He took on any work that came his way, hauling furniture, repairing gutters, and tidying up construction sites. Though it fell short, it was the glue that bound them. It was only until the previous autumn that a social worker intervened, declaring the situation unsafe and emphasizing the necessity for Ethan to find stability. Henry remained silent. He understood that they were correct. With vision clouded, he affixed his signature to the documents, embraced his son tightly, and vowed, "For the moment, I will return for you." From that moment onward, each day became a relentless ascent. He dispatched resumes, queued in lines at job fairs, diligently took notes during complimentary workshops, and immersed himself in codes at the library. He was crafting a plan, methodically, silently. Tonight had cast a shadow over that plan, making it seem more distant than ever before. As he sat in his frigid truck, his arms rubbed together in a futile attempt to summon warmth, his thoughts drifted to Claire, the woman he'd encountered at the bus stop. How frigid she appeared, how taken aback when he extended his coat. He was uncertain of the reasons behind his actions. Perhaps it was her resemblance to Lily that stirred something within him, or maybe it was simply a yearning to prove to himself that he was still capable of goodness, that he remained the man who contributed more than he consumed. The snow continued to descend from the heavens, blanketing the world outside. Henry draped a blanket around himself, nestled against the frigid window, and closed his eyes. Though he possessed little, he still had his own essence, and for the moment, that would suffice. As Claire entered the polished lobby of her apartment building, the inviting warmth enveloped her, akin to a gentle embrace. The doorman offered a courteous nod in her direction, yet she scarcely returned the gesture. With each soft click of her heels against the marble floor, she approached the elevator, the jacket gifted by the stranger enveloping her snugly. She had not meant to accept it. In truth, she had attempted to decline. Yet, the man Henry had pressed on, his gaze holding a weight that silenced any lingering objections. The jacket draped ungracefully on her frame, oversized and frayed, yet it offered a warmth unmatched by anything she had donned in years. As she entered her penthouse apartment on the 28th floor, an enveloping silence welcomed her. Silence reigned, devoid of television, music, or laughter. Only the steady hum of modern appliances filled the air, accompanied by the distant howl of winter wind swirling outside thick glass windows. Claire set her purse down on the entryway table, her movements deliberate as she gradually removed her jacket. Just as she was ready to discard it, her fingers grazed something hidden within the inner pocket. With a sense of intrigue, she reached in and extracted a folded piece of paper. It bore the marks of age, its corners creased, smudged with fingerprints and the passage of time. With delicate precision, she unfolded it. It was a drawing crafted by a child's hand, rendered in vibrant crayon hues. Two stick figures clasped hands beneath a lopsided sun. One bore the title Dad, while the other was simply me. A delicate heart drifted softly in the space that separated them. At the bottom, in a shaky scrawl, were the words, "I love you, Daddy, Ethan." Claire remained motionless. She gazed at the drawing, the letters swirling and fading in her vision. A shiver coursed through her as she settled onto the edge of the couch, jacket clutched in one hand, the photograph held tightly in the other. Her throat constricted. Ethan. The name lingered in her thoughts, sharp and unyielding like a thorn. The manner in which Henry grasped the folder, the fatigue evident in his gaze, the heaviness that lingered in his voice. A father who held a fragment of his child forever nestled within his heart. A father devoid of material wealth, yet he made the profound choice to give selflessly. She surveyed her apartment, taking in the familiar surroundings. The setting was pristine, lofty ceilings, exquisite furnishings, transparent walls, devoid of any photographs or personal embellishments, a realm crafted for achievement, devoid of comfort. With a delicate touch, Claire folded the drawing and set it softly upon her lap. In a spontaneous gesture, she drew the coat close, wrapping it tightly around her chest. The air retained a subtle hint of something recognizable. Perhaps it could be laundry detergent, perhaps it is memory. In an instant, without any forewarning, tears began to gather in her eyes. Years had passed since she last shed a tear. Not quite. Not since her childhood when she was cold and hungry, perched on the steps of a church, yearning for someone to see her. On that fateful night, an event unfolded. A gentleman possessing gentle eyes and a visage marked by the passage of time. He removed his coat and draped it gently over her shoulders. He offered little in words, merely a smile and the assurance that she would be all right. It marked the very first act of kindness that lingered in her memory. It was the inaugural moment she truly sensed the gaze of another upon her. Though she never encountered the man again, that fleeting moment altered the course of her life entirely. Claire wiped her cheek with the back of her hand, a sniff escaping her lips. She had transformed into someone entirely different. She fought her way out of the foster system, persevered through college with scholarships and unwavering resolve, and transformed Infinity Group from a mere app concept into one of the most powerful tech companies on the East Coast. She had rightfully claimed each dollar, each accolade. Yet, at some point in her journey, she had lost sight of the essence of need, the true significance of giving. This evening, an unfamiliar face brought her memories flooding back. She glanced once more at the drawing, at the unsteady little heart nestled between the stick figures, then shifted her gaze to the coat cradled in her arms, oversized, weathered, yet laden with significance. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Emily Taylor shed tears. Not from a place of brokenness, but rather because something deep within her had been tenderly, exquisitely unveiled. The following morning, Claire found herself seated at her desk, a cup of coffee, still untouched, slowly cooling beside her. The skyline unfurled infinitely beyond the expansive floor-to-ceiling windows of her office. Yet her gaze remained steadfast on the wrinkled sketch clutched in her palm. The edges had become frayed from countless unfoldings and foldings, as though she sought to etch every crayon stroke into her memory. Sleep had eluded her. She found herself revisiting the events of the previous night, recalling how Henry had selflessly offered his only coat, the quiet dignity that resonated in his voice, and the underlying sorrow that lingered in his weary smile. There was an unsettling presence about him that lingered in her thoughts, a blend of warmth and the deep-seated sadness he endeavored to conceal. With a deliberate motion, she opened the top drawer of her desk and retrieved a small silver bell, its surface gleaming softly in the light. Shortly thereafter, her assistant, Rachel, entered the room. Indeed, Miss Langston. I require your assistance in locating someone, Claire stated, her voice steady yet resolute. Rachel blinked, her eyes momentarily wide in surprise. Naturally, who could it be? Claire paused for the briefest moment. He goes by the name Henry. I possess no surname. Last night at approximately 8:30, he found himself waiting at the bus stop located at 56th and Madison. He offered me his jacket. My desire is to seek him out. Rachel's eyes widened in surprise. Yet she gave a slow, deliberate nod. I shall explore the possibilities and see what I can accomplish. And Rachel, let this remain our secret. In the days that followed, Claire's directives were executed with a serene precision. Her team, adept at uncovering elusive developers and enticing executives away, now directed their expertise toward unraveling the enigmatic life of a man who thrived in the shadows. Traffic camera footage was retrieved from the closest intersections. Henry's silhouette emerged momentarily, indistinct and wrapped tightly in his jacket. They meticulously followed the bus routes that made stops in that vicinity. Around the moment Claire stepped aboard, through meticulous cross-referencing of entry logs, they meticulously honed in on a select few potential riders. None of them aligned with the corporate databases. At last, Rachel reappeared, clutching a slender folder. His name is Jack Miller, she stated. Though he was once a structural engineer, there are no recent employment records to speak of. I came across several posts on an online forum inquiring about job openings. A contact number was provided, associated with a prepaid phone, devoid of any permanent address. Claire turned the pages, revealing an old driver's license photo, a LinkedIn profile captured in a moment, and a scan of a construction license that had long since lapsed. There are no arrest records, no scandals, only a profound absence. With a decisive motion, Claire shut the folder. The stillness in the room weighed heavily upon the air. Where is he at this moment? Rachel moved slightly. Yesterday, one of our team members caught sight of him near the southern edge of the Bronx. Behind the warehouse, an old pickup truck sits, its weathered frame telling tales of years gone by. He has been observed arriving and departing, resting within it. Claire rose to her feet. I yearn to journey to that place. Rachel paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. Claire, are you certain? We might consider having someone reach out to him or escort him here. Rachel remained silent, yet her gaze revealed a tenderness. I will arrange for someone to drive you. 1 hour later, Claire found herself nestled in the back seat of a sleek black sedan, navigating through streets that felt worlds apart from the polished boardrooms and towering glass edifices she was accustomed to. They walked by closed shops, walls adorned with graffiti, and individuals who trudged along, heads bowed against the biting chill. The driver approached the warehouse, bringing the vehicle to a halt nearby. Claire noticed it at once. The aged Chevy nestled in the shadows, a blanket of snow heaped around its tires. It appeared as though it had remained still for days on end. She emerged into the crisp air. The scent of rust mingled with the cool dampness of concrete hung heavily in the air. Her heels made a gentle crunch against the gravel as she approached the truck with deliberate slowness. Peering through the windshield, she discerned a silhouette occupying the front seat. As she approached, the door let out a haunting creak, swinging open slowly. Henry emerged, his eyes squinting against the bright daylight. Initially, he regarded her with a furrowed brow of confusion, but soon, a spark of recognition flickered in his eyes. His expression transformed. A mix of confusion, wariness, and then a hint of shame washed over them. Claire, he murmured, his voice thick with the remnants of sleep and a hint of astonishment. She bestowed a tentative, fragile smile. Hello, Henry. He cast his gaze upon himself, taking in the creased fabric of his attire, the boots lightly coated with snow, and the truck looming behind him. What brings you here? I came to find you, she stated with a quiet resolve. He scowled, folding his arms across his chest. What is the reason behind this? She paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. Because I found myself unable to shake off the thoughts of your actions, pondering the essence of a person who would part with his only coat for a stranger. Henry let out a harsh, mirthless laugh. There was no need for you to pursue me for that. A simple thank you card would have sufficed. It's not about gratitude, she remarked. It revolves around the importance of ensuring that something valuable does not fade away without being acknowledged. They remained silent for what felt like an eternity. Two souls from disparate realms, united by an unexpected gesture amidst a chilling breeze. At last, Henry released a deep breath. Did you really travel all this distance for that? Claire gave a subtle nod. Indeed, and perhaps something beyond that. The next time Claire encountered Henry, he was hunched over a pile of cinder blocks at a construction site on the outskirts of Queens. For 20 minutes, she remained in her car, observing from afar as he worked with a steady, silent determination. He hauled, stacked, and lifted in the biting cold, embodying the quiet resolve of a man accustomed to being unnoticed. He donned a weathered flannel shirt, the sleeves casually rolled up to his forearms in defiance of the chill, while his breath escaped invisible puffs. His hands bore the marks of hard labor, calloused and stained, yet each movement was executed with precision, efficiency, and intent. As he paused for a moment, perched on a low wall with a plastic water bottle cradled in his hand, Claire emerged from the car and approached him. Henry glanced upward, his eyes widening in disbelief. He sprang to his feet, sweeping away the dust that clung to his trousers. "Is that you, Claire?" "Hello again," she said, her smile modest yet sincere. "What brings you here?" She offered him a cup of coffee she had brought along, thinking he might appreciate something warm. With a hint of reluctance, he reached for it, his gaze probing into hers. "Your gesture was unnecessary. I understand, yet I felt compelled to do it." They lingered in silence for a moment before she spoke again. "Would you accompany me, just for a little while? I have something to share with you." Henry cast his gaze upon his work boots before shifting his attention to the foreman standing in the distance. "I still have a few hours left in my shift. I've already spoken to him." His eyebrows arched in surprise. "I currently do not have an interview scheduled." "You do now," she replied. Henry emitted a brief chuckle, his reaction more one of astonishment than of genuine amusement. "Very well, let us delve into the essence of this matter." They traveled in quietude. Henry cast a fleeting gaze out the window, his fingers twitching restlessly, acutely aware of his disheveled appearance, worn jeans, calloused hands, and the subtle sheen of perspiration clinging to his collar. Claire appeared oblivious. Upon reaching the downtown headquarters of Infinity Group, Henry paused in the lobby adorned with marble floors, surveying the towering glass walls, the gleaming chrome accents, and the ceaseless activity of suited individuals. "I don't belong here," he murmured softly to himself. Claire glanced in his direction. "Simply ascend to the upper floor." They stepped into an exclusive conference room, where expansive windows stretched from floor to ceiling, framing a breathtaking view of the skyline. Claire gestured for him to take a seat before she gently closed the door and settled into the chair opposite him. Henry cleared his throat, a subtle prelude to the words he was about to share. "What is the meaning of all this? Are you considering returning the coat?" Claire shook her head in disbelief. "No, this is not concerning the coat. I held on to that. It belongs to me now." Henry's eyelids fluttered. With a deliberate motion, she leaned forward. "I did not arrive here to express my gratitude. I arrived here because you stirred a memory that had slipped from my mind, a facet of my being that I had concealed beneath the weight of countless boardrooms and relentless deadlines. Your words brought to light that genuine transformation doesn't necessarily begin with new ideas or plans. At times it begins with a simple act of kindness." Henry cast his gaze downward. "Claire, I'm merely a man navigating the challenges of existence, and that is precisely the reason I brought you to this place." With a deliberate motion, she slid a folder across the table toward him. Within the envelope lay a job proposal, a contract, and an opportunity for a new role, cultural and human values advisor. Henry's brow furrowed in concentration as he turned the pages with a deliberate motion. "What is this?" "A new role has emerged, one that I have crafted myself. A person who participates in departmental decisions, training initiatives, and development conversations, not to focus on figures or strategies, but to emphasize humanity, values, and compassion. Your experiences would be shared, contributing to the very essence of this company." Henry chuckled nervously, his head shaking in disbelief. "Claire, direct your gaze towards me. I lack a formal degree in psychology. I did not complete my studies at Harvard. I find my rest within the confines of a truck. You held the title of engineer, It has been years since I last constructed anything. You created a memory that will stay with me forever, Claire said softly. Henry averted his gaze, consumed by a wave of emotions. This is not an act of charity, she continued. This is a position uniquely suited for one understands the sensation of invisibility, the experience of being overlooked. And yet, in the biting chill, you paused and offered your soul coat to a stranger. That reveals more about leadership than any resume ever might. He parted his lips, then sealed them again, grappling with the elusive words. I'm not qualified, he said at last, his voice barely above a whisper. Claire leaned in, her eyes fixed with determination. One does not require a formal degree to impart the wisdom of care. It is a lesson lived and breathed each day. Claire gazed intently into his eyes and declared, You don't require credentials to teach others the essence of kindness. You embody it, and that holds more power than anything you could ever inscribe on a page. Henry felt a constriction in his throat. He gazed at the proposal, then shifted his eyes back to her. For the first time in years, a spark ignited within him. Neither fear nor defeat, but rather hope. Unrefined, alien, fearsome. Anticipation. Henry lingered in solitude on the bench, positioned before the imposing office building, the job proposal lying untouched in his lap. His fingers traced the contours of the folder, yet his gaze drifted into the bustling street, lost in thought. He found himself unable to accomplish it. He wanted to, but something held him back. Somewhere within, he truly did. Yet, fear seized him, a tight and familiar embrace, the sort that murmured harsh truths in the stillness of the night. She is merely extending her kindness. This is not reality. You will surely make a mistake. You consistently do. The proposal seemed like a snare cloaked in benevolence. Henry, having devoted years to cultivating a skepticism towards anything that appeared overly perfect, found himself unable to dispel the heavy burden of uncertainty. He remained oblivious to Claire's emergence from the building, only becoming aware of her presence when she settled beside him, enveloping them both in a quiet stillness. I never believed it was necessary. I am already aware of the conclusion that awaits. Claire inclined her head. In what manner? It's hard to believe that someone like me would find themselves in a place like this. One does not establish a company like Infinity by employing individuals who reside in trucks. Do you truly believe that my offer stemmed from a place of pity? I believe I find myself out of place in your realm. Claire cast her gaze forward for a brief moment before rising to her feet. Join me, if only for a fleeting hour. Is that you, Claire? Neither suits nor meetings. Simply have faith in me. Defying his instincts, he rose to his feet. For more than 30 minutes, they traveled in silence, leaving behind the gleaming towers of the city and venturing into a more tranquil part of town. At last, they arrived at a humble red brick structure, its faded green awning whispering tales of years gone by. A sign adorned with vibrant colors proclaimed, George's Place, a sanctuary for each and every child. Henry stepped through the threshold, trailing her closely. The walls gleamed with vibrancy, adorned with handprints, whimsical painted creatures, and inspiring quotes celebrating kindness. The atmosphere was imbued with a subtle aroma of crayons, mingling with the comforting scent of freshly baked bread. The sound of laughter reverberated through the corridor, elevated, exuberant, raw, young ones. Claire guided him through the bustling space, past a community kitchen and a cozy reading room, into a spacious playroom brimming with second-hand toys and vibrant handmade posters. Children of every age lay scattered across the floor, engrossed in puzzles, lost in books, and engaged in play. This place, Claire said softly, was named after the man who saved me. Henry cast his gaze upon her. My childhood unfolded within the confines of foster homes, rebounded through the air. There were those who showed kindness, and then there were those who did not. On a fateful night, I made my escape. The air was biting cold. At the age of 12, I nestled against the cool stone of the church, biding my time until the dawn broke. She hesitated. Her voice took on a gentle quality. He discovered my presence. There was an elderly gentleman by the name of George. He offered me his coat, kept me company through the long hours of the night. Did not inquire. Merely remained. Henry remained silent. He was unable to do so. I never saw him again, Claire continued. In that instant, it felt as though a hand emerged from the shadows, whispering, "You matter." This place came into existence because of him. She pivoted to confront Henry completely. Just last week, another person gifted me a coat. I was unaware of my own identity. Offered without expectation, simply bestowed. Henry took a deep breath, his throat tightening. "You remind me of him," she said. "Not for the gifts you bestowed upon me, but for the essence of your being." They remained quiet, enveloped by the vibrant echoes of joy and merriment around them. Henry's gaze drifted around the room. Children were playing. A volunteer was tying a shoelace, and a young boy was reading aloud with exuberant enthusiasm. It was as if cozy, genuine. Claire brushed her fingers against his arm with a delicate touch. "Your presence in the boardroom is not a necessity, Henry. Please remind others of this. On the essence of caring." Henry remained silent, not through words. His eyes glistened with unshed tears. He cast his gaze downward, attempting to blink them away, yet they persisted regardless. Silent, unprotected weeping. He nodded in response, unsuitable for the position. Unsuitable for the position. Neither for the paycheck nor the designation. Yet, for the first time in years, he truly felt it. His presence was still essential, remains valuable, yet undeniably human. Henry remained still, a solitary figure amidst the vibrant laughter and joy that filled the room. A lone tear carving a path down his weathered cheek, not from sorrow, but from the deep sense of relief that came with the realization that he still held significance. Henry's inaugural day at Infinity Group commenced without any grand celebration. Not a single welcome party awaited them. No announcement has been made. In a modest glass-walled room perched on the 5th floor, a handful of skeptical department heads gathered, surrounded by a mountain of sticky notes. With a mere gesture, Claire had made the introduction. "Meet Jack Miller. He has arrived to assist us in creating something far more significant than mere profit." The gazes were courteous, yet tinged with doubt. Yet Henry remained unyielding. He commenced by recounting his tale. Not the tearful rendition, not the sort that captures the spotlight. Only fragments, authentic fragments. The sensation of losing everything was profound and haunting. To rouse from slumber in a frigid truck. To step into job interviews with the knowledge that your shoes bore holes. To embrace kindness regardless of the circumstances. Initially, they tuned in with a blend of apprehension and intrigue. As the first week drew to a close, they found themselves leaning forward. Henry possessed a manner of speaking that was neither preachy nor theatrical. He posed inquiries that caused individuals to hesitate. "When was the last occasion you truly gazed into someone's eyes? Are you familiar with the name of the janitor responsible for cleaning this floor? If you happened upon someone weeping in the break room, how would you respond?" He entered without charts or data in hand. He entered with a heart full of understanding. A gradual transformation commenced. One by one, the employees began to seek him out. Initially, the interns. Next came the junior developers. Subsequently, the heads of departments. Some gathered to discuss the topic of stress, perspectives on burnout. A handful gathered merely to enjoy a moment of stillness during the lunch hour. Henry absorbed the words, and when he finally spoke, he refrained from providing answers. He provided insight. "You're not broken," he reassured the young programmer who admitted to having gone 3 days without sleep. "You are simply weary. Fatigue does not equate to weakness. It signifies that you have invested your emotions for an extended period, only to find that your affections have gone unreciprocated." That phrase found its way onto office doors, adorned mugs, and echoed through every company email. From her corner office, Claire observed the entire scene as it unfolded before her eyes. She observed the transformation of conversations in the break room, the return of laughter, the ascent of productivity, not due to pressure, but because individuals felt acknowledged. Before long, Henry found himself with an official space to call his own. A quaint little space, brimming with greenery, shelves lined with well-loved books, and a coffee pot that perpetually overflowed with warmth. Beyond the confines of work, life started to reconstruct itself in subtle, significant manners. Thanks to Claire's assistance and a modest housing stipend provided by the company, Henry managed to secure a down payment on a quaint one-bedroom house situated on the outskirts of Brooklyn. Though modest, It boasted a porch, a garden plot, and sturdy walls that stood firm against the wind. What mattered most was that it had space for Ethan. In his inaugural year at a nearby university, Ethan had returned to reside with his father. Their inaugural dinner in the new house was unpretentious, featuring spaghetti and garlic bread, yet Henry would carry the memory of it with him for a lifetime. "You kept your promise," Ethan had said that night, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Henry remained silent. He was unable to articulate it, yet the expression in his eyes conveyed it all. Claire and Henry found themselves in each other's company almost daily. Initially, it revolved around tasks, discussions, plans, and teamwork. In that moment, effortlessly it transformed into something greater. They began sharing lunch, followed by strolls to the subway side by side. What began as weekend coffees gradually evolved into evenings filled with the charm of old movies, where conversations meandered through the realms of everything and nothing. It unfolded quietly, without flair or haste. It simply occurred. Two individuals had dedicated years to constructing impenetrable armor around their hearts, only to discover solace in the serene companionship of another who sought nothing more than their mere presence. As the sun dipped below the skyline, casting a warm glow over the city, Claire turned to Henry, her voice barely above a whisper. "You've transformed this place, Henry," she remarked, standing together on the rooftop, the world below them fading into twilight. He let out a soft chuckle. She glanced at him, a knowing look in her eyes, and echoed the reminder I had already received. As the workshop on resilience drew to a close, Henry noticed a young man lingering behind, long after the others had departed. He appeared barely past 22, slender and pallid, with eyes encircled by the shadows of sleepless nights. "I simply need to express something," he murmured, his voice trembling. "Last month I contemplated giving it all up, everything, including life itself. I had reached my limit. Yet, upon hearing your voice, I found myself halted." Henry remained motionless, his heart racing. "You mentioned that individuals don't require fixing. They simply need to be listened to." Never had those words been spoken to me until now. It was as if, at long last, someone truly recognized my existence. The young man took a deep breath, his throat tightening as he swallowed. "Your presence has made all the difference. Without you, I doubt I would have arrived at this moment." Henry felt a constriction in his chest. He advanced and rested a hand on the young man's shoulder. "I'm truly pleased to hear that you are." Once the young man departed, Henry settled into his chair, the silence enveloping the room, the words reverberating in his thought. He had once pondered whether he would ever hold significance again. At last, he had found his answer. The atrium of Infinity Group had never appeared in such a manner before. The banners celebrating quarterly achievements and product launches had vanished. Soft white drapes cascaded gracefully, interwoven with strings of warm lights, while a grand sign adorned the space, elegantly proclaiming, "One Kindness Day." One Kindness Day. Employees gathered closely, attired in their finest, not for the sake of business, but for a purpose far more profound. At the heart of the stage, Emily Taylor approached the podium, her gaze traversing the audience. "This day transcends mere metrics," she began. "It revolves around fleeting instances." Silence enveloped the room. A year prior, I found myself at a bus stop, shivering in the biting cold, solitary, weary, and more adrift than I truly understood. Then, a man, a stranger to me, performed an act that no one else had dared to undertake that night. He offered me his coat. A whisper of familiarity rippled through the assembly. Claire offered a gentle smile. It was aged and frayed, yet it held immense significance, for it served as a poignant reminder that true kindness does not pause for convenience. It appears when the world is caught off guard. With a graceful motion, she approached the easel that stood beside her, lifting the cloth that had been shrouding it. There, ensconced within a glass frame, lay the very coat itself, its sleeves frayed, and its fabric faded from countless years of wear, yet preserved as if it were a relic of great reverence. Beneath it, engraved on a bronze plaque, were the words, "One small act of kindness can rewrite a life." Claire's voice trembled ever so slightly. That act transformed not only my evening, but also the trajectory of my existence. Today, we pay tribute not only to that pivotal moment, but also to the man who made it all possible. She pivoted gracefully to face the brink of the stage. "Henry, could you please come up here?" Henry rose gradually from his chair. Clad in a modest suit, lent by a friend yet meticulously pressed, he navigated through the waves of applause. His face, etched with the marks of time and struggle, now bore a hint of something lighter, something serene. He approached her side. With a deliberate motion, Claire delved into her pocket and retrieved a small envelope. "This is yours," she declared. With a deliberate motion, Henry unlatched it. Within lay the title deed to his new abode, marked and authentic. Gasps reverberated among the throngs of onlookers. With a warm smile, Claire leaned in closer. Sleeping in trucks is a thing of the past. Once more, the room burst into applause, yet Henry raised a hand to quiet the crowd. He paused for a moment, then, with deliberate slowness, reached into his jacket pocket. He retrieved a small box from within, unadorned and weathered, a testament to the passage of time and the care it had received. His gaze fell upon Claire, his heart racing wildly. "You claim this coat transformed your existence, yet it was you who transformed mine. Restored my name, returned my son, provided a shelter, and rekindled my hope." He lifted the lid of the box. Within lay a silver ring, understated yet glimmering softly beneath the illumination. He spoke with a trembling voice. "I kept it in my pocket, because if there's anything more valuable than this coat, it's you." Claire gazed at him, her eyes brimming with emotion. "Will you marry me, Emily Taylor?" A moment of silence lingered, and then her laughter broke free. A gentle, muffled, exquisite sound escaped, accompanied by a nod through glistening tears. "Indeed, without a doubt, yes." The audience erupted into a standing ovation, their cheers and applause echoing against the soaring glass ceiling. After the passage of a month, they exchanged vows and became husband and wife. The wedding took place not in a lavish ballroom or an upscale resort. The scene unfolded at George Place, the quaint little red brick community center that held immense significance for them both. The children crafted delicate paper flowers. The chairs were a mismatched ensemble. The cake emerged from the hands of an intern participating in Henry's mentorship program. Yet the atmosphere radiated a warmth that wealth could never procure. Claire donned a modest white dress, her hair cascading freely around her shoulders. Once more, Henry donned that familiar suit. Ethan stood beside him, fulfilling the role of best man. The attendees comprised volunteers, colleagues, individuals from shelters, and a multitude of young employees who had once gathered in Henry's cramped office, all in pursuit of meaning. As the vows unfolded, Claire grasped Henry's hands, her gaze locked onto his eyes. "Once you gave me a coat," she said, her voice resonating with clarity and confidence. "This evening, I offer you every part of my existence." Her words cascaded through the room, illuminating it like sunlight streaming through a stained glass window. Gentle, luminous, indelible. Henry found himself unable to utter a single word. He merely nodded, tears cascading down his cheeks, while the crowd surrounding them wiped at their own eyes. Joyful laughter erupted. The melodies began to flow. The reception flowed into the courtyard, where children dashed about barefoot, and strings of fairy lights twinkled in the fading light of dusk. A photograph was captured. Henry and Claire lingered beneath the sign of George's Place, standing close together, her head resting gently on his shoulder, his arm enveloping her. Beside them, an easel held the old coat, a silent witness to their moment. Quiet, weathered, and forever etched in time. The image would soon find its way across the digital landscape, shared, reposted, and discussed by many. A symbol not merely of second chances, but of how something as simple as kindness could penetrate the cold and transform everything anew. Occasionally, the tiniest act, a coat, a smile, a kind word, can resonate more profoundly than we could ever foresee. Though Henry possessed little, he offered all that he was able. In return, he not only transformed Claire's life, but also discovered love, purpose, and a fresh start. Their tale serves as a poignant reminder that kindness does not demand perfection. It simply calls for presence and a genuine heart. If this tale resonated with you, if it rekindled the belief that hope can be found in the most surprising corners of life, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe to soul-stirring stories. In this space, we share stories that ignite the spirit, renew your belief in the goodness of people, and highlight the essence of what is truly important. Until we meet again, remain compassionate and hold on to your faith.